Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service. Today we're going to look at the astrology of some of the slower moving long-term planets slash trans-Neptunians. One of the things that I really want to point out with this particular video is how much astrology delves into our evolution as people. And there are certain evolutions that are going on right now that are going to be rather obvious to all of us, regardless of where you live in the world. These aspects, these transiting aspects, are very slow moving. And whether they affect you directly or indirectly, they are still affecting you. In some cases, because they're affecting news cycles. So, before I begin, as always, I want to thank you for watching the video. I want to thank, in particular, all of my subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll consider becoming one. And if you would, like, share, comment, I would really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you who are helping me to build this very small educational channel. So I want to start off by saying that I am highly political, but I do not do politics per se on this channel. However, it is going to be very difficult today to separate some of what I'm going to be talking about with some of the politics that's presently going on in the skies. And again, I want to point out that this isn't just happening in the United States. This is a worldwide issue. But it is because we as a world people are really evolving, and the planets are doing what they can to assist us in that process of evolution. And no, evolution is sort of like revolutions. They're not easy. Actually, they're pretty tough. But sometimes, as is the human condition, the tougher they are, the more we learn. And that is what I believe that we're experiencing right now, today, with everything that's going on in the world. So, very briefly, before I pull up the chart, and I could pull up any chart, and you could pull up any chart for May, and you're going to see these going on. Some of which, and I do want to point that out to the American people, some of these will be going on, particularly the Uranus Poseidon, through the election. So that makes it especially important. That's going to hold true because think about it. Our elections are in November. All the primaries begin in May. This stuff's in effect the whole time. Interestingly, Australia is having elections. France just had elections. Slovenia just had elections. And they're proving out some of the astrology. So we have a ways to go in this country, just a few months. But I'm very hopeful that the culture wars that are being raised, and yes, we're going to see that in here. And that is not just America. You know, when you live in America and you can't see outside of, but I'm telling you, this is a world issue. And it's something that we, as the people of the world, need to really think about. We need to contemplate on, and I think stand up for ourselves. I think in the end, that's going to be what it's really all about. You know, it's a lot about the Neptune and Pisces, which I did talk about in the last two videos, because I'm going to stick with this for a little while, this going through some of the slow motion stuff. And the reason for that is because the evolution of mankind is at play. I mean, it's always at play, but sometimes it's more obvious than others. And this is one such time. So I'm going to be looking at Saturn as it inconjuncts Neptune. Very vital to what's going on. We're also going to be looking at Uranus in opposition to Poseidon. So everything that I'm talking about is going on for months and months and months. That's what makes it so evolutionary, okay? The other one that I'm going to look at is Saturn as it equals Hades on a dial. Also very enlightening. So in order to start this, I'm going to pull up the charts and we can see exactly what it is that I'm referring to. And notice that I've only taken 3 of these to talk about today. This is something that, just think of it this way. I used to do daily astrologies, and every day I would talk about those aspects that are going to affect us all, whether directly or indirectly. We are going to be aware of them. Well, think of what I'm doing now as daily astrology on steroids, because these aspects will last quite a bit longer and have a bigger mission, if you will. So let's jump in and check out what the charts are showing us about this evolution. So before I even get there, let's talk one-on-one. First of all, I'm looking at 2 Saturn aspects. Saturn is about maturity. It's about growing up, and it's about wisdom. We all have Saturn returns somewhere between 28 and 30. We have them again, late 50s, turning 60. We have them again if we should live long enough at about 90. So these are markers in our life where we tend to maybe even evaluate our own levels of wisdom. And each one of these Saturn returns, we should be getting wiser, smarter, more mature, more established, and all of those things that relate to Saturn. But Saturn is most importantly our structures. And I've talked about, although it was a while ago, the Saturn and Uranus square, which we're done with for a moment, but then, I think we're going to get revisited as an anxiety producing. Why is that? Because they both represent concepts of structure. One is the structure itself, which is Saturn. The other is about the function of that structure, which is Uranus. Uranus is also asking us to change. We are being asked to evolve. Ironically, Saturn is what's our evolution, but it is Poseidon and Uranus in particular asking us to evolve. Saturn is also in a picture here with Hades. So we're going to be looking at the deterioration of our structures. And I don't think there's a country out there that can't say that's not true. Okay, I think Ukraine is really living it most directly as they're having things destroyed and now they have to be rebuilt. So that's a big factor, not just, this is like everyday stuff, but this everyday stuff is kind of eating into our psyche, our consciousness, our sense of awareness. So we're taking that Uranus-Saturn, which is asking us to change. And then I'm going to really look at Uranus and Saturn as they are interacting with other slow-moving entities. And they're creating change on a massive level. But the biggest changes are occurring within us. Within us. We are changing. We are growing. Okay? I have a lot of optimism. Yes, I do live in the United States, and I just found out about the leak of the Supreme Court. And I should be much more upset than I am. And I am upset. Of course, I live in a state where it's doubtful anything will change. But yes, for the sake of federal government, federal law, this is a moment. But when I talk about what we're seeing in this astrology, you're going to see how this moment is probably going to be bringing about the most change. And no, I don't think that they're going to abolish that law. I think that's what some people would like, the religious quotes on religion, because it's going to be a very big factor as I start to talk about these aspects. I think we have to look at the fact that You know, they don't want us to talk about the past. Now, this is maybe more America than other countries. We're not supposed to know about history, but one of the things I always like to point out is that, and I know no one out there will disagree with me, but religion, particularly the Catholic religion, has really oppressed people. Talk to the people of Ireland if you really want to know, okay? So now, I do come from an Irish background, so maybe I'm a little bit more familiar with it than some people, but I can tell you that we maybe are evolving beyond a point where we really need religion, where our religion is finally what they talk about in the book of Revelations, where the laws of God will be written in the hearts of men, not on the walls of some church, not in some book that is being preached and dealt out by some leader, church leader, whatever that might be, but that we are in touch with ourselves, that we understand the concepts of spirituality on a much deeper and profound level. That's what we're working on right now. Anybody who listens to any of the readers out there, any of the psychics, most of the astrologers are understanding that it is about light workers doing light work. Very Poseidon. So we're going beyond religion. And it makes me wonder if religion isn't in the same ballpark as the white man theory here in the United States, which is, you know, they always ran things, but now they don't. Is it a wonder that they want the abortion laws to be prohibited? I mean, you know, it'll take women out of a competitive field, right? It won't make them so, you know, they get paid less money. So they've been really hitting, you know, I guess white men, you know, I don't know. But I kind of feel that religion and this whole white man thing is probably not the right banner to take up in an Aquarian age. But we'll see, won't we? Because that's going to be in the astrology. So with that little preface, let's go in there and look at that chart, finally. So I'm back, and this is what we have, okay? Our chart, and you can see this. We have, and this is stuff that's going on for a while, Poseidon at 14, okay? Uranus at 14. There's our one. The other thing I want to look at is there's an now the thing about the inconjunct is it doesn't last long. So that is probably the shortest. The only reason why I did it is because you're talking about two planets that take a really long time to get moving. So it is going to affect us for a time. Not surprised at all with this leak today, particularly regarding that Saturn and your Neptune thing. So we have Saturn, okay, and Saturn is in Aquarius, and it's, I'm finding it here. Here we go. So Saturn is at 24 degrees, and Neptune, I believe, is at 21. Let me get there. No, it's at 24. Okay. So they're both smack together. That's why I think it was astrology that affected the leak from the Supreme Court just as much as anything. Okay. And I think that leak, which is like historical, it never happens. I think it happened for a reason, and I think it happened out of obligation. Okay. So let's talk about my notes. Okay, when you have an inconjunct, which will last several days, maybe even a week or so, because again, we're talking about some of these really slow moving planets. Give me a minute. We have some noise going on here. Thankfully, it was fairly quick. Okay, so when you have an inconjunct between Saturn and Neptune, here are some of the things that you can expect. There's a need to justify our resources and talents. Okay, that's inner. That's something that we are all struggling with. We're seeking ways right now to use our resources to help relieve the suffering. Oh, I got it. Hold on. Hopefully we're safe. Okay, So we get back to this. We're seeking ways to use our resources to help relieve the suffering of the social injustices of others. Okay? I think that's really important. I think that's a very important concept of what's going on right now. Maybe we're even feeling responsible because we're all part of this social structure that permits these conditions to exist. This is about soul reflection, people. This is about looking around and saying, you know what, that's really not right. And how did that happen? How did we allow that to happen? You've got to ask yourself. Okay, there's a strong spiritual motivation. Sometimes this motivation is to bring social order to chaotic situations. That's one way of looking at it, okay? Now, believe it or not, the spiritual motivation is also that religious concept that keeps being thrown up in democracy as a way to control and manipulate people. It's happened in Turkey. It's happening in the United States. It's happening everywhere. And I think that, this is where we have to draw a line, because religion is a lot of dogma, but dogma is not spirituality. And one of the things that's happening is we're all becoming more spiritual. That means it's not about dogma. It's about, here we go, what it says in Revelations. Man's heart. It's about what's in your heart. That bit of God is in all of us. We are all seeds of God. We all have that ability to create. And I think that we don't really need anyone to tell us what that means. At least most of us don't. Okay? Basically, it says, be wary of getting involved in programs where the goals are unclear. Yeah, where there's a political underlying message rather than a social, spiritual message. That's how I think of abortion rights. I think that the religious people are taking up the banner, but let's be honest, it's not about spirituality. Because if it was, people should mind their own business. Because what goes on between one man is between that man and God, his God, the God connection he has. He's the one celebrating himself as God. Nobody else gets to judge that. So, it also talks about how we could become victims. Victims here, people. Victims of those who would take advantage. Honestly, look at what's going on in every country. Is there not a political undertone to everything that's going on? Shame on us. So we have to consider that, because that's all part of this Saturn inconjunct to Neptune. It's pretty heavy, actually. But then I want to move on to another heavy. Uranus in opposition to Poseidon. This is a big guy, and I'm telling you, this sucker's going on all the way through the election. It's a time when our insights will come through our friends. That's why it's very important to surround yourself with like-minded people, not people who will frustrate you with their arguments, not people who want you to comply with some political agenda. Our friends, our inner circle. There's going to be a lot of excitement in association with ideas. This is all about ideas here, right? With an accent on technology and computers and communication. I do want to say, when I wrote this, I laughed. In America, they're banning books. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. They're banning books in a digital age. What are you going to do, burn them? I'm sorry. I just find this hugely humorous, okay? And I'm actually in a state where they've been trying to do it. Now, I will say that 2 city schools in my area have protested. I don't know what it's going to mean, but we've got, Pennsylvania has some really big midterms coming up, and I think it's going to show. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so it talks about how some of these ideas are really exciting, but some of them will make your hair stand on end. So yes, I'm looking at that opposition. Just once again, that opposition from Uranus to Poseidon. And neither one moves that fast. Okay? So we have to be careful, because the excitement now isn't like good excitement. Some of it's going to be like waking up this morning and finding out there's been a leak in the Supreme Court and the Roe versus Wade could be overturned. That's excitement. Check out what's going on the foot of their stairs right now. A lot of excited people. And they're not all happy. Okay? Some might be, but some are not. And I'm going to go with this. The majority are not. And it's unbelievable that, and this is not only our country, because Le Pen wanted to do it in France. And so you've got this happening everywhere, where the leaders are going against the majority. Well, that is not democracy. Okay? All right. So it says, this is a time when we need to be more aware, woke, if you will, to the universal mind. We need to be more woke. Actually, we are waking, and that's what's so upsetting to some people. It is possible to have cognitive flashes right now, which can be almost clairvoyant. I think this is happening to a lot of people. Maybe the mind goes into overdrive, perhaps experiencing things like aberrations. Maybe the changes in light, we're just so much more sensitive to it that we actually can see those in-between places. Not everyone, but a lot of people. Anybody who's involved in this kind of work, I think, can say, you know what, guys, we are the most optimistic right now. And I think it's because we know that for every bad judgment that comes to light, example, Roe versus Wade, there is going to be a nail in that Supreme Court's coffin. We are a country that can change that and will. So I think that one of the things that's happening is some of these bad decisions are coming to light in every country so that we can see where the bad is, and then we can do the hard work of changing it. Yes, it will be hard work. I'm going to get to that aspect in a moment. I did these in order. Okay. So use that clairvoyance, though. People that meditate in particular, and I can't stress how important meditation is. I can't stress people who practice yoga, any level of yoga. I can't express how important it is to do right now with the Uranus in opposition to Poseidon. I cannot tell you how blessed you could be with cognitive thought, with what I want to call flashes of intuition. Sometimes this energy can represent something new, maybe something out of the mainstream. Though this can be good, okay? So, in other words, that's what I think is happening. And here we go again with nail in coffins, refer us then to our need to change, which then refers us to this hard work that we have to do to make sure that we put changes in place that are more permanent, more for the betterment of all of mankind, and not for the purpose of an individual. And I'm going to get to that because that's actually in here. Okay. So looking for the new ideas that are coming, like they're not, like these are coming out of the clear blue. Some of those will be our best, our new ideas. Some of those will be the best. So then it talks about how it will cause issues if the processing of these new ideas and insights is done in a disassociative manner. If you're doing it for political reasons, probably won't work, because that's a disassociative manner. I hope that you understood what I meant when I said that. I'm trying to explain that better. I was trying to explain it. So if you're doing something right now for the betterment of all people, for the betterment of their lives, then it's for good. It's for the purpose of Uranus. But if you're doing something because you want to end democracy, you want to change your government, and you're going to use culture wars to do it, you're probably going to lose badly. Realize that people will use ideas and intellect to create disruption, accent differences, or for the sake of maintaining familiar tensions. Like, why don't we have immigration laws here in the United States yet? Well, because the Republicans don't want it, because they won't have any talking points. But is that a valid reason not to have a system in place that is going to be so desperately needed, not only now, but in the future, when crises will occur because of climate change? Ideas at this time can be more about the individual than the whole. Yeah, that's the thing we've got to avoid, because it won't work. It won't work. Religion can be an antidote to stress, but it can also bring about ideas and issues that can be the basis of a revolution. No, I don't think the revolution is going to be that we are going to restrict abortions. I think the revolution is going to be that women are going to be so angry that their rights are being taken away that they are going to cause their own revolution. You know, what's so interesting is these people taking away the rights of women are ultimately going to go after the rights of the LGBT, which fortunately they already know, and are same-sex marriages. And then they think they're never going to go after their guns. Yes, they will, because autocrat systems can't allow the population to have guns. Then you could stand against them. So this is what's so ridiculous about the agenda of our Republicans, but I know that this is true of the conservative movement in every single country. Because, by the way, the conservative movement is being driven by the same handful of white men, many of them coming out of the United States. Although Putin's involved in that, and he's not. Okay, so religion at this point is going to be a real point of contention, because religion is supposed to be internal and sacred, something that you have a community of, but it's really about what's in your heart. Unfortunately, religion right now, let's talk Turkey, they're trying to force the will of Christianity on everybody. That is not right. I'm not that good of a Christian, okay? I'm sorry. God is direct. I don't even understand the concept of Christianity. I haven't for decades. Why is it in the name of Christ? Why can't it be direct to God when I meditate? I think about Christ as a man who did great things, but I don't want to mess up his karma. He never wanted a religion. Something to think about. And I know we got some good Catholics out there, but I'll be honest with you, I was once a Catholic too, and I just really feel like they've tried to manipulate people, and they take children away from parents in Ireland because they're poor. I mean, then they abuse the children. I mean, they did that in the early 1900s. I just think that people, I don't know, religion just hasn't been good for us, and the age of Pisces is over, and I think that this is the reckoning of that. I think you can believe in God, but I don't think you have to believe in the doctrine and the indoctrination and all the other stuff that comes with religions that I just don't agree with. You know, the dogma is what they call. Okay, so changes will be relative to our thinking, our beliefs, and our principles. And this is huge. And this is why, regardless of where you live, what country you're looking at or coming from as you're looking at this video, you need to get out and vote. You need to vote because democracy depends on it. And democracy is a real cornerstone of Uranus and the Aquarian age. I'll go as far as saying socialism is, but let's do it in small steps. So then we get to the fact that we're going to also be dealing with times when people will be very anxious about the truth. And by the way, that's going to cause weird things to happen, because if you're worried that the truth is coming out on something, and believe me, here again, that's not just the United States, that's every country. If you find out how much Russia's been involved in Brexit, I don't think England's going to be too happy. Okay? I think the Marie Le Pen thing and her connection to Putin, again, not so good. So we have to think about that. So the final aspect that we're going to be looking at today is, I got to go to the dial for this one. So let me do that. Okay, we're going to go. Oh, I did the sun because I wanted to check something out. I didn't do the sun or moon today. I'm considering doing them for Friday, but they're more short term. They do deal with the people, but they're more short term. So I'm on debate. I also have a diabetes chart to do. So we'll see what happens. Another diabetes. So I'm not quite sure yet, but let's look at this. So if you notice, Hades, okay, equals Saturn. Okay. Both slow movers again. All right. This gives us concern about our financial deterioration. This is why inflation is such a factor regardless of wherever you live in the world. Social traditions and how they affect how they affect what we teach and how we affect the maintaining of our standards are all in play right now. Oh boy, is that true? Is that true? So you take that religious concept and then you look at the standards that traditions have created for us. This is going to be true in education. We have an education issue here in the United States. We had everything here. The Republicans are totally about culture wars right now. And, you know, I'll be honest with you. I did some studies of education. I was thinking about being a teacher. Well, I am a teacher, but I was a teacher of dance. I thought about being a teacher of education until I got involved a little bit. And I actually taught in a college dance for a little while. And I'll be really honest with you. The politics in education is very bad, and it's not good for the overall education. And that was before CRT entered the picture. I would think now that they have just made everything exponentially worse. Okay. There's somebody I listened to online, and she had made the comment that education should come, the whole process, the system should be developed from the bottom up, not from the top down. I am somebody who totally agrees with that, only because I actually studied it. I went out and looked at things like open concept educational systems. And I actually sat in on those things when I was really young, and just really felt that there is a lot of indoctrination in schools, but not in the way CRT is telling us. If anything, it's the opposite. And I kind of feel that teachers, some of them do a heck of a job teaching their subject matter. They really do, but they're doing it under so many political restrictions, and I feel like they've done a heck of a job. I think that when it comes to history, we in the United States have an ugly, ugly history, and and history, by the way, is Hades. We're not doing anybody a favor by putting that history under the mattress. We're really not. And also, because white people in this country within a few years, and that includes white children, there'll be a minority. We're not going to be a white country, and which I think is a good thing. I've been waiting for this my whole life. So I'm not saying that out of disparity. I'm saying like, yes, finally. Okay. I'm totally a diversity person. I get really weirded out. I even watch movies and will go, God, where are the we're the people of color. I mean, I'm just so used to that. I spent a lot of time in Philly, which is a very diverse place. I am just really pro-diversity. My daughter had to be raised in a city because I felt that was really important. Diversity is important. And I'm not just talking about colors. I'm talking about all kinds of different people. Because people are what make up the interest of life. And, you know, they're what make life so interesting. So these standards that we've been indoctrinating and following through, well, and this goes for history. I'm so angry with the history I was taught. You know, what's so interesting is CRT wants to shut down history. Do they understand that there's already a lot of adults who are angry about what we never learned? I learned about most of the Indian massacres as an adult. I learned about black man massacres as an adult. And that does not make me a happy camper. Just saying. So again, look to what's going on in your own countries. This is America. This is an issue we have, but I don't think we're the only country that has this issue. Remember that the Catholic Church was at one time allowed to take the children away from the Irish people. Okay, so this energy that is going on reminds us that we all have to begin at the bottom. So that means that those people who are out there looking for new jobs, yeah, if you want to switch jobs, there's probably an opportunity, but you probably will have to start at the bottom, which means you're going to have to do the dirty work and the drudgery to get to that next place. That's for everybody. Okay? That success requires doing the dirty work. I always joke because I always say my own personal success has always relied on doing whatever I'm going to do free first. It's how it's been, you know, that's just probably the way the Hades is set up in my chart. I do the dirty work, but my dirty work might not even get paid. Okay. What's nice is once that passes, but you know, it happens. It's also asking us, and this is really interesting. Saturn and Hades together is asking us, and I'm asking all of you to please do the right things. Make the right decisions. Take the high road. If you're a voting population, vote. If you know they're taking away the rights of women, even if you're kind of apathetic on the whole thing, that's not fair. Vote. And we're not the only country that's fighting with the abortion stuff. Okay. Success, true success, depends on doing the right thing. And I'm going to be really honest with you. A lot of bad things have been done in this United States. Bad things, really bad things, like government coups and all kinds of things. But these things, these coups, these issues, okay, they're bad. They're bad. So I want to know how the Republicans think they're going to win the midterms. I look at this astrology, and every time I hear that on TV, I'm thinking, there's no way. Not only are they in a Saturn return, but they just did a whole lot of bad things. Bad things. Really, really bad things. I'm just saying. It requires that we do the right things. Other areas it can show up in. People can devalue their own accomplishments and dwell and focus on what they see as their personal inadequacy. So on a personal level, please be careful that you're not buying into negative speak. Remember, when all of this chaos is going on in the world, and yes, there is chaos going on in the world, especially today, there's a lot of chaos going on in the world. Sorry about the phone. I normally turn it off, and I'm going to do that right now. I know that somebody's trying to me, and just clients. So I just, No big deal. Everything's cool. I'll get back. Anyway, just to finish this up, I really wanted for people to understand that worker jobs, one of the other issues that you can have with the worker, the job, is this idea of keeping secrets. Okay, this is bad on a lot of levels. Okay, for some, it will be a time of following things back to their origin. That's actually a really good way of using this energy. But be careful that you're not, because when all this craziness is going on around you, that's what you're going to want to do, is go into your own head and start bringing yourself down. Don't do that. This is a very spiritual time. We're learning these things on the outside so that we can strengthen ourselves on the inside. Issues right now can result in situations where we take responsibility for mistakes and even making corrections. Sometimes for other people. Sometimes just we have to do it. Just we have to correct this. And it says that the examination into who or what is to blame is another way for this energy to manifest. In other words, there's a strong encouragement for accountability with this. People want who's to blame to be accountable. That is very important with Saturn and Hades. Okay? This is a time when people or person refuse to take responsibility for their actions. Well, we certainly have that here in this country, and I know Putin's doing it to the whole world. He refuses to take, he this disinformation and everything that he's done to mess this world up. Trump and everything he's done to mess up this country and our courts. This is a time when things don't go well and people react. Social norms, work habits, all of this seems to have slipped. Or right now, we're just all seem to be geared toward the lowest common denominator. Wow. We are all looking at the lowest common denominators, aren't we? Many of the problems resulting from this energy will ultimately prove beneficial. That's the important thing. Remember when I said about the very beginning, and I said, well, the Supreme Court doing this is really a nail in their coffin. They didn't want the next government to change how many people are seated on that government, but I think, on that court, but I think that they're going to be looking at a lot of changes, including how many judges they're going to be. I think they're going to implement things like term limits. Some of this will take a few years, but it's starting now, and it's starting because they did this. Because they're taking away a 50-year law after they said they wouldn't, which means they all perjured themselves. At least the last three. Okay, many of the problems are resulting from this energy, as I said, will be helpful as we go down, because all they're doing is bringing up how bad the structure is. All they did was let us know that this Supreme Court is very bad. And I wouldn't doubt if it wasn't somebody from the other side, and I wouldn't blame them, and I wouldn't judge them. The fact that things look bleak will force us to acquire self-discipline, maturity, and we'll do this in a way to handle things in the future. Told ya. That's why it's so beneficial. Fear is what brings decline or depression. So all those fear mongers who think they're going to get into political office because of fear mongering, I don't think it's going to work, at least not this time. We are finding out that those people who are in authority are no credit to their professions. I know the people in France were not all real happy about Macron either. Okay? But let's be honest, it's the lesser of evils, right? Because people in positions of authority are no credit to their positions. And I think Joe Biden's done a heck of a good job. But I'm more progressive than he is. So there you have it. So then it says that people are afraid of things they can't put their finger on because these are unusual times. Yeah, that's what the fear mongering is so bad. is so bad right now, the fear mongering. So it talks about these energies are asking us to understand the influence of the past. What has the past done to bring us here? What is the influence of the past? Well, I'll tell you what, our government many times has been in a place where we've almost lost democracy, but we haven't. And maybe history is telling us not to give up, that we need to fight. It's about how our past, goals, fears, ambitions, and beliefs in our abilities are really, really important. At a time when secrets of the past can bring people down. Yes, hopefully that's true. Okay, and this includes their reputation, their credibility, and their ambitions. Well, I'm hoping that a lot of careers are ended as a result of the January 6th insurrection. A time when people can feel ashamed of their fathers or their leaders. Some people will not feel like working. Ambitions can be at a low ebb. That, again, is a personal thing. You know what? Sometimes we just get so disgusted, we're so depressed, that on some level depression comes over us and we really just don't have it. We just don't have the energy. But it can also give us work opportunities to work, especially if you're poor or have low education, okay? This can be good for you. This can be actually a really good time for what they call the lower educated or less educated people. And but it's also a time when ambitions themselves can be at a low ebb. So really, it's almost like saying if you're a construction worker, you're going to probably have a better time with this aspect than if you're somebody who works in an office and is just really just don't even really want to do it. It can also give us like I said, there's a lot of spiritual fulfillment in a lot of what's going on right now. And I think that that's what we really want to come off on the side of. So let me come on back. So I'm back. And I just wanted to say goodbye proper. I did take care of my client in the interim while I was on pause. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for watching the video. Again, if you would like, share, comment, and all of that. And please comment. Really, I mean, I'd love to hear from you. And a lot of the stuff that I brought up, I'm sure there are tons of examples out there that you could add to what I have just said. But with that said, I am going to leave you, as I always do, that until we meet again, I wish you only happy readings.